All right, welcome to the Internet Money Podcast. I have my good friend Logan. He is the founder at Got Content. Logan, before we get too deep into what you have going on at Got Content, tell us a little bit about your come to Internet Money moment, how you got into this whole online business world.
Yeah, so when I was about like 15, I was trying to get into any way of making money online, and I happened to come across Twitter, and I started growing an anonymous account there. Slowly built it up to become a huge account and stuff, but didn't really like the theme of it. I wasn't able to attract inbound leads because it was anonymous, and slowly transitioned out of that to building a personal brand on Twitter, and then more recently LinkedIn. And yeah, we kind of went from there, focused more on business side and actually acquiring clients. And that's kind of how I got here.
So you grew this anonymous account. Could you tell us a little bit of the theme of the anonymous account? Was it kind of just like posting memes online, or where are you up to?
Yeah, so one of them is or they're both more visual oriented. So I'd be posting like a visual a day or something, 3 visuals a day. On one of them was like motivational content, and another one was like Christian content. And the Christian one really took off, and I've got like 470,000 followers on there now. But yeah, I was just doing that and trying to sell retweets as a way to make money, and kind of helped me get going though.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you mentioned, selling retweets, because I think this is an area most people don't actually know about. Talk a little bit about I don't know if I'll call it the underworld of Twitter, or we'll call it promotion side of Twitter.
hmm Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people realize that most content that goes viral is actually some sort of exchange going on there. Somebody is either a friend that's retweeting it, somebody's buying retweets and getting comments or something like that. And it's just a great way to grow your account if you're actually getting quality retweets or comments on your account or on your tweets and stuff. But it's not talked about because it's frowned upon, especially on Twitter. LinkedIn, not as much. But yeah, like I said, nobody's gonna be really telling you, but really anybody that you see going viral and stuff is trading retweets to some degree on there.
Yeah, I remember listening to Dan Cohen. He had these steps on how to grow your account, and paid retweets and engagement groups were two of the larger things. And do you find that to be quite common? Obviously, the paid retweets, because we just talked about that, but
Yeah.
engagement groups amongst creators.
Yeah, it was huge. So when I was starting my anonymous accounts and stuff, I actually ran a pretty big engagement group, and it slowly started to go away as Elon started to transition to more of a personalized approach to Twitter, you would say, more organic. Um, but yeah, there's definitely groups still going on where people are trying to grow that way. It just can be dangerous because in the long run, you're going to be getting these followers and stuff that just don't really care about you. So, I mean, it can work for a little bit of time to get your account going, and it's a great way to get your account going. But in the end, you should probably be more focused on organic, and that's more of what I've transitioned to.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this idea of focusing on organic. So what does it mean to focus on organic?
Yeah, so that's pretty much where you're just putting out content and you're engaging with other people, and they're able to say, hey, I kind of like this guy. Let's go check out his account. Or they're seeing your comments aren't bigger accounts. And you're like, okay, his content's interesting from what I'm seeing in his comments. Let's check him out. Or it's your content that is going on the For You page and people are saying, yep, this guy knows what he's doing. And then they're clicking on your account to actually follow you. So this is actually generating and driving more organic reach that can lead to better followers and eventually convert to inbound leads and stuff like that. So that approach is a lot slower in terms of growth, but in my experience and what I've been doing for my clients, it's a way better long-term outcome with that.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the clients and the online writing business. So it's one thing to write for yourself or create videos for yourself, but talk to us a little bit about transitioning from doing this for yourself to doing this for clients. Like, what kind of challenges have you faced? What kind of transition period? Like, how'd you get your first client?
Yeah, I mean it's a whole different world because I think a lot of ghostwriters nowadays just think that they're going to be able to go and write exactly how they write for themselves, but there's a lot of difference between styles of writing. The niches that they're in can completely change how you need to write. So going on interviews with them and really understanding what they want to talk about, what accounts they like, so I can kind of write in that style is something that actually makes it possible to go and write good ghostwriting content. For the most part, you can have ghostwriters that write typical content, it's just more platitude based. But when we're trying to only grow organically, we need it to be super specific so we can grow organically with quality followers. So having that interview process, tons of research gets done, and ChatGPT even can help with that and understanding more about that. But overall, it's more just you got to put in the time to actually be able to write for them.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this. I like to call this the life of a transaction. Let's say, a new person wants to come on to the Got Content system. What happens? They go through a long interview with you and you start to understand their process. Walk me through, like, let's say I signed today and I want to get on the Got Content system. Talk us through how that happens.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be setting you up like in our Slack and stuff and Notion system for content review. But immediately after that, we're going to try to get on a 2 hour interview call with you. So immediately after you're signed, I'm actually going to start going on to like your previous tweets, any content I can find, podcasts, whatever, and just seeing more of who you are and the type of content that you're going to want to put out. And I'm coming up with like tweet ideas for an entire month. And then on that interview, we're going to be walking through each of those kind of ideas that I have for you and saying, yep, this is kind of, I like this style. And then I'm going to be grabbing more information from you so I can like expand on that with exactly what you want to actually put out. Because like I could ask a question like how to eat healthy, and I could have two different, completely different answers from two different people in the health niche. So it's like, okay, I have that idea for a thread or something, but I need to make sure I know exactly the route you want to go with that. So yeah, I mean that's the main factors in that.
Now, many people think they are like a special snowflake. And I don't know if you've encountered this, that when you do your interviews, many people fall into like certain kinds of archetypes in the way they either write or speak. Have you noticed that? Or is that it mostly everyone is quite different?
Um, the thing is, a lot of my clients more so trust me to just write for what works for Twitter. But yeah, you do get the different guys that they want more passive aggressive tones or something like that. And it's like, okay, yeah, that can definitely work. I just need to make sure that I'm writing good content overall. And no matter how I'm like writing it, it's still going to work because the idea behind it is really what's pushing it. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely a mix of people that want their like own specific style, and the ones that are just happy to do whatever I want and think is best.
Yeah, it makes sense to hand it off and outsource it completely. So let's talk a little
Yeah.
bit about, you've written for both Twitter and LinkedIn. Let's talk about some of the strategies and how they differ on the respective platforms.
Yeah. So with like Twitter, you need to put out a lot more content on Twitter, and the life cycle of your tweets is a lot shorter. It's like 24 hours max almost. For LinkedIn, like for my clients, I'm only putting out 3 to 5 tweets on average for clients per week. And then the life cycle of them is around like it can be 72 hours to even like an entire week. Like I have posts all the time that they'll start generating even more engagement a whole day after or something. So yeah, they're different in those aspects. They're also different with like LinkedIn you only have 2 lines of text to actually hook a reader. So you need to get to the point quick. You need to have context quick. As for Twitter, you need to have more of like a story based approach where you have like 4 to 5 lines where you can add context, but you need to be like building up interest even more so that they click the button, the show more button. So yeah, there's different aspects to both of them. Overall, there's similarities in the sense because they're both more text oriented. They're more business oriented. Twitter is a little less on that side, but overall they're more or less the same. And I'm able to even repurpose content somewhat easily if you just nail the hook on compared to LinkedIn or LinkedIn compared to Twitter.
And I remember when we were talking in the past, you mentioned that like adding a selfie or adding some kind of image of yourself was very popular on Twitter. Do you find that the same in LinkedIn? And any reason why you think that's a effective strategy these days?
Yeah, for sure. So I still notice that on even LinkedIn and then obviously Twitter still. But LinkedIn, it still works because they do have that like that page, the for you page in a sense, where you're just scrolling through. And if there's a huge image there, it makes your post 2 times as big as someone else's post, which can capture more attention. So for myself, I do it all the time for clients, depending on if they want it or not. I'll try to push them in that way of putting at least some sort of visual graphic. It doesn't have to be a picture of them necessarily, but some sort of graphic that like kind of just goes along with the post is super, super helpful.
Yeah. And then what do you have? Your clients create like some kind of Google Drive full of pictures of themselves, and then you can kind of just like pick and choose from there.
Yeah, so a big factor in this, I guess you could say, is I actually have a whole like album on my phone of just like each individual client. So I have like 500 pictures or something of just all my clients, and it's just like stuff I found from their Instagram, from previous Facebook posts, and then obviously like some pictures that they sent me. But yeah, it's more or less a Google Drive of just everything compiled, and then they're like, they let me know, hey, yep, this post is good. So then I don't have to be asking them every thread or something, hey, can I post this picture? I can just click the button to add it
Mm.
whatever I see fit.
And I know you're shifting more towards LinkedIn, but historically you've been, the Twitter guy. Talk to us a little bit about like why you're making that shift and like why now?
Yeah, I mean, I would have started on LinkedIn earlier, to be honest, if I hadn't had the notion that it was only business people and it was just super robotic and busy, which it is. It is robotic and it's busy in a weird sense. Like, people don't have like optimized anything there, but you can stand out because of that. Like, I can put out not perfect content and people are like, wait, he's not acting like this typical business owner that has perfect chat GBT content. Like, so it's easier to stand out on there, and I've grown like really quickly on there, because of that in a large sense. And that's because, or the whole reason I switched over to there a little bit more, is because of those results it's bringing in. It's also bringing in a lot more inbound leads because it is around those business people still. So I like to compare it to like 2021 Twitter, when you could put out a thread of like 10 websites to use with ChatGPT, I don't know, whatever, and you could get thousands of likes there. It's similar to that, in where if you can just have content that stands out, you're going to grow no matter what. Now, like for Twitter, it's so much more based on like good content. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. You just have to be putting out good content over and over again. As for like LinkedIn, if you have 1,000 followers, that's going to more or less like relate to how much engagement you're getting on your posts. So yeah, I mean, it's a bigger difference in algorithms now with Elon's switch, and I'm just trying to take advantage more so of LinkedIn.
Yeah, I noticed when I started posting on LinkedIn, like the impressions were so much higher, and I assume it's just the competition is a lot lower. I also noticed
Yeah,
this when I was doing video content on Instagram versus TikTok versus YouTube. Is like YouTube was like the professional leagues. It was like the NFL of social media, and it's like
yeah.
sometimes you're just not ready for that. So let's
Hmm.
talk a little bit about your creative process for crafting compelling content on social media, because I know you have a framework.
Yeah. So there's a few frameworks I use. I mean, I like the VIP framework, which is value content, interest content, and then personality content. And this is specifically for Twitter. And I try to hit on each one of those pillars every single day. So my first post of the day would be like a value long form thread or something. Next post would be like a post more so that just gets a lot of attention. And then the last post is just a personality, like behind the scenes of my actual life more so. And that's a good way to just give like an audience everything they kind of need to have the fun side of it, but also to have the value content side of it. And then another one, more on the content creation side of it, is I call it I2P, and that's idea to post. And that's where I just write down a specific idea for a tweet I want to write. I want to write about 10 foods that can help you lose 20 pounds of fat. I won't expand on that. And then on the next day or something, whenever I want to write, then I'm coming back to that idea and then fully finishing out the thread. So this just helps me like get in that frame of mind to either have ideas, like get all of my ideas out, or to write, because it's very hard to go from idea to writing out an entire thread, and then to coming up with another idea, to coming up to write another thread. And if you're writing like a whole week of content like I am each week, like that can become a lot of extra time just wasted. So I try to batch everything together. It's like, okay, a week of ideation, completely done. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to write all of my content. And that just helps me to separate so I can kind of get in zones of like, okay, this is my time to write now. Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, everyone these days, it seems like, is trying to grow their online presence. Talk to us a little bit about some of the common mistakes you see where people are really struggling to grow.
Yeah, a lot I see from like specifically business owners is who I target more, is that they post so technical of content that nobody cares, and it's so boring. Especially now getting onto LinkedIn, it's like nobody cares. Like they can go look that up on ChatGPT to find the exact same information. So a mistake like that is, it's like there's no reason to actually go onto your account, to follow you, to read your content daily. Something you do that you can do to get around that is like, okay, take, if you're like if you're doing a thread and it has 7 points to do X or whatever, take one of those points, expand on it as much as possible, and use analogies and use experiences. And that's going to like completely like combat the technical side of it and getting stuck into that zone. Some other mistakes I see, like, I mean, these are like more beginner mistakes: using hashtags, emojis, not spacing out your sentences. These are just the things that it's just going to make you look very unprofessional, and it's like a turnoff pretty much. Like anyone can tell like you're not cut out for social media, and it reflects your service because of that. Like if anybody sees that content, they're like, okay, if he's putting out this type of content, then his service, there's no way his service can be good. So you need to definitely optimize those and just try to stay as professional as possible. But also, like, you don't want to be like too professional to the sense of you're putting out technical content or something. So it's a fine mixture of like finding your personality, but not being like, I don't know, emoji like, in a sense, also of like putting out things that belong on Instagram.
Absolutely. And many of the listeners will be business owners, but if there's anyone interested and they're a writer, talk to us a little about advice you would give to someone trying to get paid as an online writer.
Yeah, the thing is with writing, or like owning a writing agency, is that like 80% of the work that I've put in over my 3 years has been to actually build the business side of it. Like now I focus, it's all fulfillment pretty much now, but to actually begin is completely systems based. Having systems in place to cut down on your like writing time, your ideation time, having like a swipe file, having a Notion set up, having some outreach set up, because like those are the things that actually are going to be generating you clients. It's not so much the writing, because like you can find writers anywhere that can somewhat write for you. They might not be like super good at getting to like the personal side of you, but anybody kind of can write for Twitter if they've been around Twitter long enough. So the real side of it is really the business side, and growing those systems to be able to like repeatably do it and not spend, I don't know, 70 hours a week on writing content for multiple clients. Because like the biggest bottleneck for a writing agency is fulfillment. You just don't have enough time to write. So taking the time to actually get those systems down is going to be able to make it a lot easier in the long run. You're not going to be able to get clients as quickly. You're not going to be able to make as much money quickly. But in the long run, it's going to be able to let you scale pretty quickly once you get going.
Yeah, and you mentioned systems and like tools, software. So I heard Notion. I believe I heard ChatGPT. Maybe Claude was mentioned,
Yeah.
or maybe I made that up. But let's talk about some of the tools you're using day to day to manage that and like give you more time to write.
Yeah. So I use Notion. I have a full like setup there for my clients. It's like one specific page. I have a like one, okay, this is better to explain it like this. I have a client database, and then within the client database, there's pages like, okay, this is his interview questions that he answered. So I can refer back to that. And then there's like a swipe file of content that I think will do well for him, and I'll just keep putting content in there so I can refer back to that. And then there's two other ones. There's one page where I'm writing the content, and then there's another page for my client and me where I'm putting the content in for them to review quickly. Like they can just push one button and quickly review all that content, or comment on it to redo it. So yeah, I use Notion to systemize a lot. As for like the writing side of it, I do use ChatGPT to like get grammar completely done. I used ChatGPT almost fully a while ago, and I just found it just wasn't personal enough. It wasn't spitting out good enough information. And I think ChatGPT does have its place for fixing content that you've already written, but it cannot be the starter for writing content. Some other things I use for like LinkedIn is, it's called Clio, and that is where it can like show the best posts on a LinkedIn account. You can get information of like, okay, this post is doing well. I can review the hook on it and just see what's doing well. I can also see like things like, okay, this hook is going to be formatted like this way, because like they're like you only have 2 lines, like I was saying earlier. So if your sentence goes off onto 2 lines, then it's not going to be optimized to have a 2 line hook or something. So it's good for that also. Other than that, I mean, I use Tweet Hunter. That's my scheduling service. Um, yeah, I mean, that's really about it.
Yeah, the one area I've talked with a few friends about, and I've never seen somebody. I'd actually heard theories that Cardinal Mason has this, but is you could train a GPT model to specifically on if you do like a lot of long form podcasts or any kind of like long
Hmm.
form writing. I've done it for certain things. I never find the quality to be all that high, but I wonder if that's an area you've looked in is to train specific models based on clients.
Hmm. Yeah, so I worked with a guy a little while, testing out his AI model and stuff for writing content, and it was good. It just doesn't have enough information to create new content over and over again. So it's like you can get 10 posts that are like as good as the first draft of writing. But then after those 10 threads are gone or something, it's like it's just recycling the same content over and over. So it's hard, especially if you're having new clients where they don't have previous content to train the AI on. You're really screwed then. But yeah, there's definitely room for that in the future, and I think in the right agencies and stuff, there's room for it. But as for now, I'm just staying away from that.
Yeah, it makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about some of the metrics that people should be monitoring online. Let's say they're a new writer or they're someone like you. What do you look at? Do you look at likes? Is it retweets? Is it reposts? What is it?
I mean, followers. I mean, that's a big one, and then probably bookmarks. Honestly, those are the two biggest ones. Bookmarks show me that I'm writing good, valuable content for people. Like likes and comments are great, and that shows me that I'm getting to people. It doesn't mean I'm getting to the right people necessarily, though. So if I have a bunch of bookmarks and then I have a bunch of comments, it's like okay, the comments are also like confirmation that it's a good post. But yeah, bookmarks and then obviously like followers and checking the quality of our followers so that when we're like DMing them and actually getting to the money making mode of things, that we're actually getting qualified calls and stuff like that for my bigger clients that expect stuff like that,
Yeah,
metrics
that
like
makes
that.
sense. Probably like
Yeah.
link clicks or something like that.
Yeah, link clicks
Let's
is a big one.
now. What do they do? Do they put it like a UTM in their bio, or can you tell directly from I don't know Twitter analytics or from LinkedIn analytics how many people click link in bio?
Yeah, yeah, there's stuff like that, or it's like profile clicks for Twitter specifically, and then how many followers you get, and then you can just calculate what percentage are actually converting. So you can see like, okay, is my profile optimized or not? If I have a really low conversion rate, that probably means my profile is bad, or something on my profile is messed up. Otherwise, I'd be converting way higher. So yeah, there's things like that. With LinkedIn, not so much. It's really like right now, it's just easier to grow on there. So it's like you're gonna get a mix of followers no matter what. And because you stand out so much, because there's so many robots there, you're going to be getting a lot of robot followers too. So it's just filtering out when you're going for the DMs. And followers aren't like a bad thing, even if they're not the highest quality. Like you're still getting social proof for anyone that clicks on your profile. Like, hey, he's someone worth following because he has a bunch of followers. So it's not a bad thing overall.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into some of the more rapid fire questions. So, if you had one piece
Sure.
of advice that you would give to yourself looking back, like if you could give advice to yourself 3 years ago or someone starting out in their writing career, what would you tell them?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably take the time to actually learn more. Don't just, I mean, you can experiment to a degree, but go off, learn from the biggest guys. Go listen to podcasts like these where people are just giving information out. Because most of the time, when you're going on like people's Twitters or LinkedIn, they're just not giving out the quality of content that they're going to be like just freely not thinking of talking about like on podcasts or on interviews or like YouTube videos because when you're just talking like this, I'm just spitting out anything I can think of that goes along with it. So there's a lot more valuable content that can go along with it. Giveaways are a big thing, and then just trying to like get inside of people's funnels as deep as possible and analyzing them. YouTube videos, like I said, are great, and that's kind of how I learned. And I think that would be my biggest piece of advice because, like I said, I spent 2 years just sitting around with an anonymous account, not realizing that I was screwed, that I couldn't get followers, or that followers didn't mean anything because I was growing the wrong type. So yeah, just learning like that quicker would definitely be my biggest advice.
Yeah, that's a topic I want to double click on. Is you can have the wrong type of follower. So for people that don't know, but they likely do, is I've had like over 170,000 followers in my like Spanish comedy accounts. And like, no offense to the Spanish comedy crowd, but like people that are really into entertainment posts are likely brokies or like not willing to buy your service or don't trust you as like a business thing. So it's important to grow, but with the right audience.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So
You gotta nail down that content for sure. Because like if you're posting broader content and stuff, then you're gonna attract a broader audience. So less follower or less engagement, less likes, less impressions is worth it in the long run if you're getting those quality followers.
100%. So now, let's imagine that everyone forgets about you for some reason and like your business is wiped off the face. So, if you had to rebuild from scratch today, knowing what you currently know, what would you do in the next 30 days, like a little action plan in order to get back to what you're doing?
I would definitely put out like giveaways. I would do like get all of my friends together to actually like go comment on my posts, to retweet all my posts, and just try to get as much momentum as possible to like tell the algorithm like, hey, he's doing something right. Like keep promoting my content. But yeah, like giveaways to get engagement, to show off to followers. And then yeah, I would probably just be posting like 5 to 7 times a day or something. As much like the more content that goes out there, the more likely someone's going to see it. So just keeping high momentum on every possible metric is probably the biggest advice I could say. Especially with like Twitter, it's hard right now to grow. So just being out there is the best way to grow.
Absolutely. All right. One business book you would recommend to the audience.
Ooh, I don't read a ton of like business books like that. But I love The Richest Man in Babylon. Really good book. Taught me about money and stuff when I was younger, especially. So that'd probably be it.
Would there be one writing course or one writing book that you would recommend?
Ooh, dang. I don't know because I just learned like just experimenting more, and I know I say to like go and learn stuff, but honestly, I would just go on YouTube. That's the best thing I can recommend right now. People don't give away the information you want in books, in tweets, and stuff like that. So that would be my advice.
All right. Well, if we're going to YouTube University, do we have an account that we like?
Ooh, YouTube. I like Dakota Robertson. He's great.
Totally.
Who else? Oh, like Marco Ruiz stuff. Like any podcast he's on, like I really like him. Those two probably.
There we go. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your next move in the online writing space and, where can people learn more about what you're up to and any like milestones coming up for you?
Probably just on Twitter. Like I post on LinkedIn, but it's more regular on Twitter, and I post more back end stuff. So I'd probably just stick along with my Twitter. I don't have a newsletter or anything yet, but been thinking about it actually. So probably there though.
There you go. Well,
Yep.
everyone go engage with Logan online. Say out what the Twitter handle is real quick.
Logan T Got at Logan T
Logan,
Got.
Logan T Got. And everyone that wants to get involved, they can go to what is it, gotcontent.com
Yep.
or
Yep. Gotcontent.com.
perfect. Logan, thank you so much for coming on the Internet Money Podcast. Everyone get back to growing your agency. Stop listening to this.